Hi everyone and welcome to Smack. We hope you enjoy our newest episode. If so, leave us a thumbs up and you can also share your comments or ideas for future guests below in the comment section. But now, enjoy the show.
And I cannot get away from my mind, I don't know who said that, somebody from Coca-Cola, I think, who said half of the money you spend on an advertising is absolutely wasted, but you don't know which half.
What's going on, everybody? This is the Smack Hospitality Podcast, and we are back. To kick off Season 4 in style, Sébastien Bazin, the chairman and CEO of Accor, joined us on the show, and we discussed the importance of sustainability and Accor's current brand portfolio. Beyond that, we had fun with the transition of Accor's previous loyalty program, Le Club, to the lifestyle loyalty program, Accor Live Limitless. Obviously, we couldn't let Sébastien leave without a quick excursion into our shared passion of football. Enjoy the show. Sébastien, bienvenue au SMAC. Merci beaucoup for being here. It's great to have you. Sébastien, I'm gonna start with a little confession because
from me?
From me. Maybe from both of us.
Okay.
I did some research, Sébastien, and I realized that next year, and I don't mean to make you old or anything, but next year you will have been with Accor for 10 years. Oof. And I wanted to start, Sébastien, by getting your thoughts on the past 10 years. What's it been like? I had a look at some of the topics and some of the things that you've pushed on your agenda, the augmented hospitality idea, Accor Live Limitless, just to name a few. Then you managed through a little bit of a pandemic, so I'm told, which was touched a lot of lives in many ways. If you had to summarize or to look back, and I realize with everything that's going on at the moment, you may have not had the time yet to do that. So
No, I do actually. I've been reflecting quite a bit over the last 10 years. I always do this. First word, bumpy.
Yeah.
Then lots of fun. Element of pride, because I'm a bit narcissistic. It's been good in the sense that I guess I knew why I came to Accor, which was to wake up a sleeping giant and transform it. I think we did. Company stronger, better. It's a different company in nature. It no longer have any assets on the balance sheet. So we went to a pure operator franchisor and no longer an investor, simply because we could not afford it. Two, we moved away from Europe, which was 80% plus. Now it's 45%. We wanted to, because I wanted to diversify away and go to the growth market, all over South America and the GCC and of course, Asia. Then we've been also increasing the exposure to luxury lifestyle, which was less than 15%. Now it's almost 50% of the group. So I've done all the things I wanted. I was happy to discover thousands of great talents, and I mean it. I mean it so well. So the team is great. Yeah. Then we went into COVID, probably the worst ever moment, because I was right at the time we were ready to enjoy the growth. Yeah. But we navigated pretty well through COVID. First, we didn't die, and we could have died had we kept the real estate. Two, I think Accor has demonstrated being an actor and not a spectator, even through COVID, participating and through Heartist Fund and helping doctors, nurses, and so many people. True privilege. I think since I've been a financial investor for 20 years before, my big regret, which is probably why I want to continue doing my job, if the board allows me to, is with all the things we've done, and everybody probably confessing that it is a stronger, better company today, I haven't really created any value for my shareholders, and in my word, it pisses me off. So because that's one of the things that I guess you're asking from a CEO of a listed company. It's fine to provide good help for the employees and your owners and your clients, but this is not my company. It belongs to others. So I'll finish my job when I could have actually done everything, including shareholder value.
So what's the plan for the next 10 years?
Oof, I can, as much as I said 10 years is the maximum, I can tell you 20 years, don't even think about it.
Okay. But is there something, whether it's 10, I mean, I can settle for 8. I'm sure the board will settle for 8 as well. No, but you know what I mean, Sébastien. Is there something that, that you've said now that, obviously it's not your company, as you said, with the shareholders, there's an element there for any publicly listed company. Any other, things that are on your mind where you said that's really something I would like to try and tackle over the next, let's give it 2 years.
Yeah,
Can we agree on
I'll give
2?
it to, Fritz, your question is to the point. And it's odd because I said it last night in Berlin here, in front of probably too many people. So I'll say it again. It's odd because I really believe I've done what I wanted to do, and at the same time, the company is still very complex to run, and probably even more complex to understand for an outsider. So, and that is not good at all, which is probably why my share price is the way it is. So I need to make the company still leaner and simpler, more agile, more flexible. So clarity about what we do best. And that's my next 18 months is surprising people again.
Okay.
It's not another transformation. It's probably simplification.
Yeah. If we talk more about the present, Sébastien, there's one of the things, or one of the phrases that keeps popping up when we talk about Accor at the moment, whether it's in the informed press, if that's what we want to call them, or within the company itself, is augmented hospitality. It's something that you guys have pushed very hard. It's something that that you've mentioned over and over time again. We saw each other in Warsaw not too long ago, where this was also where you mentioned this as well. Walk me through your understanding of augmented hospitality and why you think it fits, or the phrase fits quite nicely what you're trying to achieve with Accor.
I'll tell you where it started, because it's not what I'm the most proud about. Is because it started because of a cost nature and not willing to be dependent on the OTAs, all those new platforms, whether they call them Booking, Expedia, or Airbnb for that matter. They've been invading my space 10 years ago, and they were, and they still are, very robust, very good, and they can either steal clients away from me or they take commissions away from me. And it's one of those business model where the legacy company don't have the same agility, don't have the same tech, don't have the founders mentality, and you can die by it. So what I've been deciding 8 years ago, I said we really need, when we pay a hefty price to get a customer called acquisition cost from Booking or Expedia, make sure you offer that client for which you paid, let's say 12%. Yeah. Let's sure you offer him more than a room and a shower. So augmented hospitality really started it. As long as I'm paying for a customer, let's enlarge the net and the numbers of services you're providing to that customer. That way you have a better revenue base per customer. So basically help him go to a museum, to a gallery, to a restaurant, to so many things, to a stadium, where you will be the caretaker and hopefully get a revenues from it. That's what it started.
Yeah, okay.
Then I realized that it was actually a very good idea, but I had it for the wrong reason, is that notion of giving a better experience to somebody traveling far away from his home is exactly what the customers of today want, even more so post-pandemic. But that's what they wanted even 3 years ago. People are traveling either for business or leisure. They want to come back, not as a different person, but a bit enriched by what they discovered, whether it's gastronomy, culture, architecture, you name it. But they need to be guided. Which is why I believe Airbnb experience will never going to work, because they don't have anybody on the soil. Yeah. We have 280,000 people on the soil.
That helps, for sure.
The best guide ever, because they are from the local community. Yeah. And the clients, if you do it seamless and intelligently, they actually accept it to have somebody as a caretaker and a curator. So it was really this notion of be the eyes, be the ears of that guy, listen to what he wants. And if you really do it well, they're going to come back to the brand because they would have remembered what you've done for them. And so that's how it started. And we need to enlarge that even further.
Yeah, you just talked about the clients, Sébastien. So let's talk about them, because they're not an unimportant part of your business.
No.
Yeah. How has it changed? I mean, it must have changed over the past 10 years. If we look back and just take the pandemic by itself, the clients and the way people discover or think about hospitality or travel has monumentally changed, and now we're kind of at a point where we can sort of safely say that travel is more than back, or on the way to coming more than back. And I know that you've been somebody who always said, I strongly believe that travel is coming back greater than ever before. Walk me through your experience. You obviously travel the world and speak to a lot of Heartists, and tell me what they've been telling you in terms of the clients and so on and so forth, and also compare it maybe with when you first started, because when you started 2013, 2014, and I realized that wasn't your first role in hospitality, but you must have experienced a change there as well.
The change occurred early 2000. It's very, very interesting to watch. Is for 40 years, 1960 to 2000, which actually all the hotel companies being created in the 1960s. Hilton, Marriott, Accor, Hyatt, all of them. Yeah. And funny enough, all the founders are still alive. Thank God for them, actually. Yeah. And for 40 years, they knew the demand existed, but they created kind of a mass market product, very reliable, very replicable, and at the end, very boring. The same lamp, the same color, the same electric switch at the same position. So people were waking up, whether it was Warsaw, New York, Paris, London, without realizing what they were, because it was the same Hilton, the same Ramada, the same Marriott, the same Novotel. And clients accepted it because they had no other choice and no ability to actually define the big differences. Then social networks happen, and then you had all the search engine, and then you had the Trivago of the world. So all of a sudden, customers became more intelligent and had the ability to choose. And that was a huge revolution. So then mass market pushing your product doesn't work anymore, and you'd better be savvy and understand what your clients want. And this is when you had a lot of new brands existing and a lot of lifestyle brands, the Mama Shelter and the Ian Schregers of the world. And then it makes it more fun, because all of a sudden you have to reflect and you have to think and you have to be more localized. Now there's another shift which has to do with ESG. It's no question in my mind. People first were looking for price, location, and a brand. Then they were looking for a bit better than price, location, and a brand. They were looking for an experience, and they were looking for design and something a bit fancy. Now they're looking for what is that brand doing for the planet? How much water consumption? Is there any single-use plastic? Are they respecting the local environment? What are they doing for diversity, inclusion, food waste? All of a sudden, you'd better be responsible for your act. And people would choose your company because of this. And don't be gimmicky about it. Don't be gimmicky. Just make sure you announce it and you prove it. Thank God Accor has been very good at this for the last 25 years because we've been in so many countries, in tertiary cities, in Sri Lanka or in Nigeria or in Chile for that matter. So it's now is a time where no longer people are going to be looking at this, but then it's obvious post-pandemic that people may travel less, but they're going to stay longer, an extra couple of days, which gets back to augmented hospitality. If you stay 7 days in the same location, you're not going to be staying 7 days in a hotel room.
You want to see the world.
Which has had other implications, which I've also learned through COVID, is the enormous independency between the big guys and the small guys. The big guys being Accor, Marriott, and the like. And we need the small bars, those small restaurants, those small cinema and shops to stay alive. Because if they die, then there's no other offer for that traveler to actually go and enjoy it. And it's actually a good eye-opener for us because we're a bit obnoxious and full of certitude. It's never good. So it's the generations are also impacting your choices. No question, you'd better cater for the 25 or the 19 to 40 years old, which Accor has missed for the last 10 years. No, we recouped them for the last 5 years. So it's an eye-opener. The one thing is, Fritz, because I was smiling a bit when you said that I've been saying that travel is coming back. You know what? I'm not saying it at all because I'm the head of Accor. It's I'm trying to be outside of my own position here. People were afraid of dying for 2 years. People have been home and they've been missing seeing their siblings, seeing their friends, missing oxygen to ability to go out. First time you actually lock people down for 18 months. So that eagerness to travel is linked to regaining your life.
Freedom.
I don't know how long that's going to last, but I can tell you, I've never seen so many people eager, and they go not as far. They go a couple hundred kilometers away from their home. They don't even actually cross the border. And they go on Thursday night, they're back on Tuesday morning, which is a great blessing for me because of ability to work remotely. And they work from my hotel on Friday, and they work on Monday, they're back on Tuesday morning. So finally, I'm having my Sunday night booked because for 40 years my leisure market was gone on Sunday at 5, and my business guy were coming on Monday. So finally, I got my Sunday.
The Sunday is back. Yeah, nice. Sébastien, you talked about a very interesting topic just a second briefly, and I want to dig deep before we talk about ESG because I have it's probably I'm going to call it my Sébastien Bazin moment because you talked about an ESG story that you had experienced, and I want you to try and repeat it on the podcast as well. But before I go there, let's talk about brands for a second because I know that brands are close to your heart and
more so today than 9 years ago. Seriously.
And why is that? Because it's funny that you say that right in there because I was going to ask, has the CEO role changed a little bit, Sébastien? Has it become more of a because obviously the stock price, the share price is still you know, it's still out there and part of your responsibility.
Yeah.
But if we look at what you've done in terms of with brands, you've added some very, let's say it how it is, some very, very sexy brands to the portfolio. You named some of them. And that doesn't mean that the Ibis and the Novotel that have been there for years are not sexy, but they cater to a different audience.
Correct.
How has that been? Because I imagine it must have been, probably the most fun part of your job in terms of developing a new kind of space, if you so want, with what you have.
Fritz, I'm a super rational person.
Oh, okay.
And thank God, I think I do. I have the ability to think totally out of the box. So, but I've never really understood marketing. One, because I don't know anything about it.
Anne Val Poschek is not going to like that sentence. But
no, it took me 7 or 8 years to understand it, loving it, wants to participate. And I cannot get away from my mind. I don't know who said that. Somebody from Coca-Cola, I think, who said half of the money you spend on an advertising is absolutely wasted, but you don't know which half. And you know what? That sentence is probably still true today, which is why I probably never liked it, because I'm a rational guy. I want to make sure if I invest $1, what's my return on $1? Yeah. That being said, as a CEO, I realized today that a brand is extremely important, because actually people choose a brand because that brand represents who they are. You know, I was talking a couple of days ago with a big shot at Bain, and we were talking about Nike. And I'm old enough. I'm 60 years old now. For those of you who don't see me, I look like 45 years old.
You look like 25. let me say.
And I was talking to the guy, and we were discussing about the Nike evolution. Think about it. Being 20 years ago, Nike was a commodity product. It was volume, price, Chinese produced, and they've been turning into a fashion brand. $1,200 a Nike with Beyonce or you name it. What a transformation that is for the same pair of sneakers.
Yeah. Nothing's changed about the sneaker, huh?
Well, I have to believe it's probably a better sneaker. But so it's that evolution is intriguing for me, and that point, and something with LVMH. Look at the value of Vuitton, Dior, or even Balenciaga or Saint Laurent Kering or Hermès Chanel. I need to wake up. I need to wake up to the fact that, I guess, the brand is super important. The only thing which I want to build within the hotel space, for me, a brand has to be incarnated. Okay. You need a soul behind it, whether it's a designer, whether it's a founders led, like Christopher Hoffman for 25 Hours and Jeremy Trigano for Mama Shelter or Alan Faina. It doesn't come by accident. Somebody is inventing his brand as something profound. And that's why I'm a little bit uncomfortable here, because I'm not a founders led. One day I hope I'm going to be an entrepreneur. But so long story short, there's two things which are a big switch for me for the last 9 years. Number one, I love people, which I didn't know I love them so much. So now part of my joy is, embarking 280,000 people. No question about it. Two, the next 2 or 3 years, I will still be with my people. Yeah, but I'm going to go 150% on brand, because that's the big differentiating factor with my peers. As good as they are, they actually are super good. All my American peers and the Chinese, oddly enough, a French-rooted company could make a big difference if I were to be even more centralized on brand DNA differentiator. Yeah. And we have the ability to do it, and we have the brands with which we have to do it. So that's my next turf.
Okay. I asked for a reason, Sébastien, because the very first Mama Shelter experience that I had was in the original Mama Shelter in Paris, in the first Mama Shelter in Paris. Ooh, and I was, and this is going to get a little embarrassing right here. I was on a date. So a French girl took me to said...
You're not going to talk to me about the sex toy at the reception.
I'm not. We'll do that after the podcast. Okay. But that's and the reason I wanted to ask about this a little bit more in detail is because the experience I had on that evening, the date was horrible, but that's a different story. But it was the first time that I saw all age groups. You know, somebody who was a business guy who was in their 60s was sitting alongside the table that we were at. It was a large community table in the middle, and so on and so forth. And at the same time, you had people, you know, my age, who just in their early or mid 20s, sitting together and everybody had an amazing time. It was not, with all due respect, you know, it was not your hotel lobby bar kind of experience where you're kind of there because you have to be. Everybody chose to be there, and it struck me because I had never heard of Mama Shelter, for starters, despite the fact that I'd been around in hospitality for a minute. And I was wondering I wanted your take on how important those kind of brand experiences are going to be in the future, because
This is the future,
or is it
no,
the
no,
future?
no. It is the future.
Yeah.
It's. I'm smiling again because I know precisely the place, which can actually dark ceiling, black ceiling with a lot of actually painting and writing on the ceilings. It's very interesting. You had a bad experience, and I hope she or he's married now. No, with you.
She is actually.
but this is precisely why we bought Mama Shelter. Exactly for what you mentioned.
Yeah.
Is I've been there numbers of times when I was not even at Accor. I was at Colony Capital at the time. I was, English would say, flabbergasted by that mix of investment bankers, legal guys, fairly rich, grandparents, children, dating, all genders. They were having fun in the same location with the same food.
Amazing.
The service was not great, but gosh, was it fun.
Yeah.
And the guys had tattoos, earrings, and that was and it was, you're talking middle of nowhere in Paris.
Yeah.
It's
it was
been better.
not downtown. Yeah,
so, and that methodology still works 20 years after the fact. And I was so intrigued. I said, not only are they able to mix all those different, that diversity, but 85% of those people in that restaurant were not from the hotel, local community. Yeah. And that's the magic. If you really can, within the hotel space, put together, commingle the travelers with the local guys coming to the bar, to the restaurant, then you win. Because the travelers will basically want to go to that place because it happens to be trendy. Yeah. And the local guy is happy because it's like a local restaurant. This is exactly what lifestyle is all about. The one thing I've learned as well, whether it's Hoxton, Mama Shelter, 25 hours, we have 14 of them. The one thing which Shahan, the founder of Hoxton, told me recently, 3 months ago, I was, again, full when I thought he was mostly design, space, ambience, and who is in. And he said to me, Sebastian, this is only half. The other half is the team. And it's very intriguing, and he's right. The people working in the lifestyle hotels would have never worked into an Ibis Mercure hotel because we probably would have never dared of hiring them because they had no prior experience. And what you also said, please, I want to say it because I've been also foolish to not say enough. The legacy brands of Accor are not dying at all.
At all.
No, we're actually growing them. What I need to do, go back to the brand DNA. My biggest wish is, can I really export the recipe of success of the lifestyle brand when it comes to food and beverage and the teams, and basically import this to the legacy brand, Le Mercure, Swiss Hotel, Pullman of the world? I'm sure it's doable. The only thing which I need to do it 10 times or 25 times, because I'm sure there's some kind of a resistance factor from the existing teams of Novotel. Would they really accept it? If I do it well and if I embark them, probably unlikely. But that's my next endeavor. And
so is there an angle there, Sébastien, where you say that you want to try and get the best out of the experiences from Mama Shelter, Hoxton, and Faina and all the rest of them, and try and transport that into your, let's say, long-term heroes like the like you said, the Novotel, the Pullman, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And it's win-win for everybody. It's a win for my travelers. It's a win for the local community to get finally access. And by the way, and it's a win for the owners because he has a better revenue per square meters.
Not forget about them,
But the one thing, Fritz, I don't know whether you meant to talk about it, but the reason why it's going to work easier today than pre-pandemic is that flex work, that's basically ability to work remotely. That changes everything. Now we've done a lot of surveys in 40 countries in Europe. 70% of the employees do not want to go back 5 days a week to the headquarters. 70%. But what's more interesting is 70% of those people who do not want to go back to the offices 5 days a week do not want to stay home either. Because of lack of space, because of Wi-Fi, because they're alone and they're actually bored.
You have to talk to your family and you talk, all the complicated things.
Clean the dish. But that's being said. So, which means that all of a sudden, those guys who are no longer going to the offices but don't want to stay home, 5 minutes away or 10 minutes by bike or by foot, I can guarantee you there's an Accor hotel. And there's nothing better for us than to welcome those people for a lot of good reasons. One, because they need it. Two, because they are repeat and loyal customer base. Three, because they're going to have ability to meet somebody while working. It's just a win-win for everybody. And that's really provide me. And if there is traffic, then you can invest on the bars, on the concept, on the chef and the restaurant.
I wanted to quickly ask you about this, and before we talk about the ESG topic, Sébastien, because forgive me for saying this, but 15 years ago, that agile thinking of saying, okay, wait a minute, there's a new trend here. People, are looking to work remotely, not necessarily work at home, but work remotely. And I have an Accor hotel every, 5 meters away. So why not use that? Can we do something about this? Can we get the people into hotels? Forgive me for saying this, Sébastien, but 15 years ago, that would have been impossible to think that quickly and say, okay, there's a new trend here. Can we offer this somehow? How is the hospitality, I don't want to go as far yet and call the hospitality industry agile, but are we making progress and becoming a little bit more, a little bit quicker, a little bit better in understanding trends and putting things into place, not within a time span of 20 years, but maybe, 2, 3, 4?
You know what? I would say it depends a bit where you are.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to say something which is not great.
That's fine. We have all the editing possibilities.
If you happen to be in America, which is a fabulous hospitality market, controlled by 6 guys, do they really need to be that innovative?
Probably not.
No, they don't need to. There's a big cash flow machine. They control their market, and the Americans are probably less daring to go to lifestyle products. They don't really need it, or they don't understand it. If you happen to be in Europe, you better think that way. So it's the biggest problem we have, Fritz. We know what customer demand is. We know what's printed on WhatsApp and WeChat and social medias, is how to basically select the information which is valuable for me. Sure. Because everybody has a different view, which is a problem with my shareholders. I can tell you, my shareholders, some of them want to do something for the next month, and somebody's telling me, don't worry, Sébastien, I'm a 5-year holder, which is actually not true. At the end of the day, this is who I am. I came as a CEO. Yeah, shake the boat is not even, it's probably an understatement. It's what makes it fun is just invent the world of tomorrow to the risk of being wrong. I can tell you, I've been dead wrong 5 years ago when I had an instinct that I'm run by instinct. I told the guys of Accor, it's kind of stupid. We have 7.5 billion people on the planet. And my clientele is only 1.5 billion travelers. So that means I don't address anything to 6 billion. So I said, guys, let's wake up and let's offer and let's start Accor Local. Yeah. Because I said we have 5,400 hotels in the middle of all the cities on this planet. Why don't we offer the guy living next door a service? Let's define what that service is. And that was going to be added traffic and added revenues and hopefully maybe a better loyal customer base. And the same guy traveling, he has a loyalty card. Why is it that he doesn't use his card when he can go to the Novotel Mercure next door and he's only using it when he's going to London or Amsterdam? Makes no sense. Yeah. I miserably failed because the guys, my general managers of the hotel, could not care less on welcoming a guy who wanted to leave his dress or his costume to go to the cleaner, or for the cleaner because he was closing. I was saying the cleaner is closing at 6 p.m. And then he has customers he knows super well every week. And one customer is telling him, I need to go to the opera on Thursday night. Could you please make sure I get my costume by Thursday? Of course, the guy's going to say, yes, I'll do it for you. And the poor guy having his boss asking him to stay at the office at 5:30. He's missing the 6 o'clock, the deadline. And the cleaner guy laundry guy could have actually dropped his costume to the Novotel. That way he can pick it up at any time. This is just common sense. No, I failed. Now, and funny enough, it's becoming a true reality, but for a different reason, which is working remotely. Yeah.
Let's talk about ESG then, Sébastien. I have another confession. This is a confession podcast, basically. At this point, when we last saw each other, Sébastien, in Warsaw at the end of last year, you told a story, and I'm not going to name the country where this took place, but you told a story about a development project where you had traveled to, and your development team had done the groundwork for the project. And I'm sure you already remember the story.
Yeah.
And I was wondering,
I'm probably in court with the guy.
And I was wondering if you would use that example perhaps to explain your take on ESG. I know it is very much at the core of a lot of the things that you guys do at Accor these days. And the story went sort of along the lines that you went to see the stakeholders of the project, and afterwards you decided, well, hold on, this is nobody wants this.
I'll tell you briefly. First, we have a new member of executive committee of Accor. Her name is Brune Poisson. She's head of sustainability and former minister of Macron government. Yeah. And through the course of her coming, she told me that I need to be prepared, that there's a lot of things that she probably may want me to stop. And some of those were development on virgin land. And I kind of remembered her saying it. And of course she said, but don't you worry, it won't happen that much. And I was in Athens, in Greece. She was not there. And I was meeting with the developers and meeting with, as you said, the stakeholders, somebody who's been working quite a bit for the last couple of years on an enormous land site on the developed virgin land in Mykonos. And with 2 fabulous Fairmont Raffles hotels. And he was showing me a large book, very fancy book, that I'm sure Accor paid for as well. And he was turning the pages, and the guy was smiling and being proud, and my developer was very proud. Everybody was happy, and I was just grumpy. And I looked at it, and I hated everything I saw. He was dense. He was occupying too much space. There was 1 swimming pool per villa. You're talking like 400 different pools, and private villas, and overlooking the water and the sea. And I said to the guy, and I'm a very bad lawyer's poker. So the guy knew I was clearly not having the reaction he wanted.
Impressed.
And I said to the guy, you know what? I need to go to Mykonos. What are you doing this afternoon? Let's go. So we went. And I said, sir, I'm puzzled. There's something I don't like. I need to walk by foot on your land. This is the only way for me I can actually sense it. So we did. We worked for a couple hours. And my instinct was even worse. That land was extraordinary. So finally, I told them that I don't believe Accor should be doing this. And then I went to see the mayor. So it's a very long story. And the mayor never wanted that project to happen. Long story short, it's not that developer's fault.
No.
It's Accor's fault. We should have said no at the beginning. So it's, Bruns was also telling me, the shift I need to make in my mind is all the big companies have been compensating by buying carbon credit. And she's saying, no, stop compensating in your mindset. You need to contribute to the local community. And contributing means either you hire people, you take away from poverty, you offer them a job. But it also means don't take water in Mykonos when they already have a lack of water to serve another 400 villas. So it's... No, and there's probably many more occasions, and that was my occasion in Athens. Since then, I can tell you there's probably a shift in the developer's mentality within Accor on trying to respect much more where we're going to be building a hotel, which is why conversion is so much better. Just there's an existing building, you can convert it, but let's stop building. Yeah.
If you compare that mindset, Sébastien, with the mindset maybe 10, 15 years ago, and I realized 10, 15 years ago times were different, and obviously that the idea of hospitality and developing was different. But if you compare that with what you just said, that there is an aspect of sustainability, ESG, whatever we want to call it, in almost everything you do, including probably one of the most important parts of the business, which is development, the pipeline and so on and so forth. How is that going to change the industry? Because I do dare to say that is probably a trend that our friends in the United States and in China will have to pick up on at some point, because the customer simply demands it. My generation is, as you said, all about these topics, and they want to know before they book. What are you doing for the community? What are you doing for for the ecosystem? How's that going to change the industry? Because I
think it changes everything. You make me think of something, which and your reaction will be interesting to watch. Talking about your generations, there's something in front of my eyes that I need to resolve, which is super tough. It's breakfast buffet.
Oh boy, how much time do we have?
Every client on this planet is super happy to have the ability to stand up, to have all the choices he wants within a breakfast buffet, and he wants it as large as possible, and he picks it whatever he wants. This is the worst in terms of food waste. And so we need now to serve at the plate and get an order, and it's so much better. But my client doesn't want it. The same client who wants to be ESG friendly and wants me to be ESG friendly will not accept something as simple as what I'm just telling you. So yes, everything's going to be also for God's sake, having your bed redone every couple of days as opposed to every day, keeping the same towel that we don't have actually use of detergent and water energy. All of that is simple stuff to do. So I'll win if you let me win. and in order to get that going, I need to explain all the things I need from my clients. I think they will embark, but I need to be very clear about it.
Sébastien, we haven't talked about the elephant in the room, which is we have a mutual passion for a sport called football. So I do want to, and I want to talk about the football in relation to what you've done with Accor Live Limitless, because before we talk about PSG, and I hear they need a new coach, so I want to to know if you're available.
I'd be a lousy coach.
But before we talk about PSG, walk me through the transition from Le Club to Accor Live Limitless, and a little bit your opinion, because I've obviously spoken to some people who have been with Accor for many years, and they gave me their take, and I really wanted to hear it from the man himself, if you don't mind me saying so, as to the idea of creating experiences, because we're I think you will agree with me based on what you've been telling me the past couple of minutes. We no longer sell the bed. The bed is fine. The bed is cool, and we can all settle on the fact that the bed should be comfortable and ideally has a pillow and a blanket. But that in a best case scenario. But that's not the full story anymore for certainly for leisure travel, and probably for to most extent for business travelers as well. So walk me through your thoughts on all and how it's worked out.
Well, Accor Live Limitless. This is the logo was invented by a guy in Australia, Graham Wilson. The logo is very strong. This capital A with a Bernache inside. It's very well done. So I was super proud when he presented that to me. When he presented this to me, Live Limitless, very intriguing, very interesting. I'm all for it. The only question mark today is the limitless means you may not be as planet friendly as they think. And there is a question of waste here, which is I need to be very careful on the way it's going to be interpreted. Le Club Accor Hotel was so boring.
I'm glad you said it.
It was a wrong appellation. And it was boring because you had no ability, no partnership, except maybe Hertz and one car rental and Air France, I believe. The rest, he was just within a box and within the travel industry. If you want people to like your loyalty program, let's make sure they use it at least twice a week. Otherwise, it's useless. And in order to do it twice a week, you'd better create partnership with entertainment company, music company, arena, and many other things that we're doing now. And it's and Accor Live Limitless is, of course, more sexy. You need to be more credible, visible, notorious, which is why we became the main jersey sponsor for Paris Saint-Germain, my club of heart, even though they should have won the European Cup. Plus, I saw Real de Madrid winning last night. For God's sake, we were better than Real de Madrid, at least for three halftime. But it's a very difficult thing to do because we're 25 years late. The American guys started the loyalty program in 1985. We started in 2005. And they have almost half of their clients being cardholders. For Accor, it's a bit more than a third. It's super important because you're then less dependent from the OTAs. Super dependent because it's more resilient and predictable for your owners to invest into an Accor brand because he knows he has at least a third and hopefully tomorrow half. And it's very important for the customers, except one thing, which Fritz, you are the right generation. There's two loyalty members here. There's the one who goes to economic mid-scale. What he wants is mileage, reduction in pricing, and maybe access to free breakfast, which is very much price-driven.
And hopefully not a buffet.
Not a buffet. And the guy who goes to Raffles or Lifestyle, he actually wants an upgrade. He wants an experience, basically being happening to go to a concert next door. He wants something which is non-material, and they have to have it within the same program. Difficult, which is one when I talk about simplification. Let's make sure we address different Accor, different segment of Accor. Maybe it's the same methodology but different deployment.
Has loyalty changed? Straight up question. Has loyalty changed in the way that it works?
But of course, anybody believes people can be loyal only to Accor. It's just foolish.
It's
the
naive.
Same guy who's telling me how much he loves me, he has like 3 hotel loyalty cards. Marriott, Hilton, myself. So no, I know this. That's okay.
Now, Sébastien, we haven't spoken about one thing that I know is very close to your heart. And I obviously, before the podcast, like I said, I spoke to some people at Accor who have met you and who have worked for you for a considerable amount of time. And we were actually briefly talking about this with your staff that are in the room here, and we said that Sébastien is a CEO and he needs to worry about the share price and the stock price, but the guy genuinely cares. And there's a couple of examples, and you will have to accept this compliment. Everything that talks about Heartist, the Heartist Fund, and so on and so forth that you guys have created. Can you explain to me why you think that was as important? Because it's not something that I would take for granted. In any shape or form, and there really isn't a whole lot of comparable programs to what you guys have done in that specific regard, and yet you've said in many interviews that I've read beforehand, you've said that it was just the logic thing to do. There wasn't we didn't have a task force.
I don't know how logic it was. 5 years ago, I asked the head of talent and culture, Arantxa, at the time, and I've asked her, I said, Arantxa, do me a favor. We happen to be in 120 countries, with vast differences in culture between a guy from sub-Saharan Africa to a guy in South America, let alone a guy in Southeast Asia. I said, try to find me what is it we have in common. And 40 people worked probably in 10 countries, and they came up with a fabulous contraction of two names called a Heartist, which is basically living from the heart and having the expertise and being an artist. And that name, I was shocked. I was so pleased when they invented it. And I actually wanted to relabel Accor Heartist Group. It cost a fortune. I probably won't ever do it, but gosh, I want to do it. And so Heartist became basically the bone under which all the different Accor employees basically have been driven. All very proud about it. Then we had COVID happening, and we were in the month of April 2020. So we knew it was a mess, and we knew probably most of the countries would go under lockdown within a week. And I was with my board of Accor, and we were ready to approve the 270 million dividend for 2019. And it's again driven by a Catholic act of God or instinct, you name it the way you want. And I told my board that I cannot, as a CEO, recommend them to pay a dividend when we know, and I guess 2 hours ago, sorry, what I forgot to say, 2 hours before the board, I sent WhatsApp and emails to all my country heads that we are closing all the hotels within 1 week by the end. It was actually the end of March. It was 23rd.
The most difficult decision of your career?
The worst ever. Okay. And because I know exactly, since I travel so much, I know exactly that probably a third to half of my employees will not get a paycheck on the 7th of April. And I knew, and I was hoping that a lot of the Western world will subsidize some of us to be able to pay for the salary. Yeah. So impactful, unfair, provoked by me, probably something which was a necessity, but gosh, was it tough. So I told the board, please help me. Can you accept that? I guess we put aside, I asked for 50%, they accepted 25%. 25% of the 270 million, which is 70 million, to be set aside for something called Heartist Fund. And it's been 24 months, and I'll give you the number as of last night, and go back to football. You're talking 2 large football stadiums, like the Camp Nou. We have 132,000 employees of Accor who benefited from the subsidies from Heartist Fund for 32 million euros. And many of those are not even my employees. They're employees of an owner in different countries. Yeah. And we give them a check, whether it's 300, whether it's 800, whether it's 1,000. And it changes the life of those people. They got access to hospital. They got access to food. So the same day, without knowing, I've made the most unjust and difficult decision in my life, and probably the best in my life, same day. So now I'll give you an anecdote, which is, I'm still very touched by it. I've been talking to the guys on video through the COVID. I was stupidly alone in my office. And you might have heard it when I said in Warsaw, because we're close enough. And not knowing, I do say at the end of those videos how much I love the people, and I give them a kiss, and I said I love you.
A big kiss to everybody, yeah.
And I was in August in Lithuania for a wedding of my brother-in-law. So I go and visit the Ibis and Novotel like a working guest Sunday morning, unnoticed. So I go, I ask to see the GM. He was there or not there, doesn't matter. And I just say, I'm Sébastien. I just want to come and say hello to the team. So there were 8 people in a small Ibis and in Vilnius. And there's this woman. She probably was, I don't know whether she was 50 or 60. She was super small, tiny woman, and barely spoke English. And she took me aside for the group of 7 people. And I was actually bending over trying to listen to what she had to say. But the only thing she had to say is, Monsieur Bazin, I'm alone. Can you only tell me, just to me, that you love me? And you know what? This is why I like my job.
Yeah, that's the best part. Sébastien, if we look at the Heartist and the people and so on and so forth, and I don't. That's why I deliberately put the question or the topic to the end, because we can all agree that there is a staffing challenge and that will continue to be there for a minute or two, and yet there's companies like yours who've gone out of their way to take care of their staff. walk me through how you see that developing. And frankly, maybe a little bit of a provocative question: is there a staffing challenge, or is it a problem of the employers that is now catching up with us a little bit because we maybe didn't do enough previously?
For sure, the latter.
Yeah.
It's my fault.
Yeah.
We're being blind. We're being arrogant. We haven't listened. It's a fabulous industry. We have fabulous people. We have great clients and the best brands. But we're being forcing too many of our employees, mostly those underprivileged, to accept a lot of constrained hours, sacrificing weekends, nights, and not paying them enough for their sacrifices. The problem I have today is now I'm more lucid, but I can't afford to pay them much more because of the nature of what losses we had for the last couple of years. So it's a vicious circle. The only way you need to meet terms between what I just told you, I mean a mid solution, which is pay them more than what they had before, which we have done already for the last 6 months. But since you cannot pay them as much as you wish you could, then make sure that within a couple of years, they will be evolving in their own career development and not having the same level of sacrifices. Yeah. Because people accept sacrifices first-time job for a couple of years, but we've been having people accepting it for 20 years in a row. So it's a wake-up call, an enormous one. It's also something where it needs more recognition, identifications of who they are. Many of them would like to be mobile, to go to another brand or another country. So my talent and culture people have an enormous job in front of them. My only sincere ask here is the recipe should be common in between the different operators. In both actually on ESG. I'm saying for anything which is labor shortage, on the responses we need to our staff should be elaborated, brand thought by Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, the Chinese, us, because we're going to be smarter together. And then we'll be deploying. And there's no reason why one is actually should be taking the helm at the expense of somebody else, because that is really ego driven.
Yeah. A final word to PSG, Champions League next year. I mean, I know that PSG is very, very dear to you.
Would you tell me if Mbappe stays? That's the first big question.
Fair enough. Okay.
I don't know. Do they have the team to make it and win? Of course they do. Do they have the right financials? Yes, of course they do. Yeah. Is it the best capital city on this planet? Yes, of course it's Paris. So that being said, I've been a PSG chairman for 5.5 years. Yeah. When in my private life, we own the club. So it's between luck and moment. He took, God knows, 15 years for Chelsea and others. So yeah, one day we'll have it. My ask, and I'm damn serious, I know PSG well enough. What's missing and what's need to be built is generosity. They have all the individual talents, but do they have the warmth and the generosity to play together? That's what will make them win. And you have it at Liverpool.
I mean, that's a success story that is unheard of. Yeah. Sébastien, just like that, 45 minutes have passed, and I know that you need to get on, but I do want to ask two short questions at the end, just out of curiosity, because we always do this on Smack. If you were to name one hotel that is not part of Accor, that you have experienced, that you love, that you have great admiration for, is there any property that you? And I realize this is difficult.
No. I'll tell you, I was there like a month ago by accident. I just went there only for lunch. Shutters on the beach in Los Angeles. Because you have the ability to have a club sandwich barefoot on the sand in Los Angeles. Yep, I'll go there any day.
Any day of the week. Any day of the week. And then the final question, Sébastien. 2023 is not too far away. Give me one thing that if we see each other at the end of next year, if
I'm still there, because my term is up in May 23.
Okay, but let's assume you're still there. Yeah. And we see each other at the end of 2023. What should have happened for you to say, yeah, I'm happy with the year. I'm happy with the way things
I'll surprise you. A better world. We've been talking about hospitality and Accor and many other things, which I know exactly what should be done. But I cannot be blind. The outside world is really messy, my dear, and
challenging.
Yes, and will be impacted one day. So it's kind of bizarre. We are out of COVID. We finally have travel back. We have demand. We have the brand, and here we have what's happening in Ukraine and what's happening in China, and all the interest rate and inflation, and it's a mess. Yeah. So let's make sure the right people resolve their mess at the same time I'm resolving mine.
Okay, sounds good. I wish you all the best for that, Sébastien. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Fritz.
And I hope to see you soon. Merci.
Salut, bye-bye.
That's it for this episode, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to share your thoughts on this episode and everything else that is going on at Smack with us by checking out our website at smack.media or connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Instagram. We'll see you next time.
Hi guys, thanks for tuning in again. If you'd like to hear more from us, check this out over here. And if you'd like to stay up to date on all things Smack related, follow us below. Thanks and see you soon.